told and your voices be heard. May you shine like the moon, fly like a bird on wings of liberation. We will rise when we listen to the heart and the ways of the wise, on the flames of transformation. We will rise from out of the shadows and into the light, into the light, into the light.
Woo! Happy Saturday. We are here again. We are Unify Women Rising, and so excited to be here with you today on Unify. We have our gorgeous crew and a super special guest, and it's going to be an exciting morning. And we are talking about self-love, and I'm going to throw it out right now. What does self-love mean to you? As you're joining the chat, type it in. Let me see what self-love means to you, and then we're going to be doing a beautiful roundtable of discussion about self-love, self-care, why it's important, and all of those good things, and some tools and tricks too. So without further ado, let me start introducing Amber. Take it away. You were here from...
Hello, everyone. I am coming in from Encinitas, La Costa, California, where it is beautiful and sunny and blossoms are abounding everywhere. Happy to be with you.
I love that. You know, I forgot. I'm in Huntington Beach, California. It is gorgeous. Seriously. Brooke, welcome back to Women Rising. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. I'm calling in from Connecticut, and it's actually beautiful here today too. And I'm so happy. Like, you guys must have brought it my way. That sun, that's so nourishing. Yeah. So it's so good to be back in your gorgeous frequency, all of you. I'm always like so honored to be with you all. So thank you for having me.
It's a joy to have you here.
Let's have some fun.
Oh, seriously, for real. Let's have some fun. We're going to be talking about a lot of the fun that's coming up next Wednesday night, by the way. So make sure that you're staying tuned this whole episode because you don't want to miss out on any of it. And welcome, of course, the gorgeous goddess herself, Rachel Morrison.
Hey guys, I am tuning in from Amber's house as well. We have been here in like a week-long slumber party, and it's been amazing, and it's just a beautiful place. I'm really happy to be here with you.
She's so interdimensional, isn't she, everybody? Seriously. And our wonderful, beautiful co-creating goddess, Miranda Clendening. Hello, Miranda.
Hi, I'm Miranda Clendening, one of the directors of Unify, and so good to be here and so excited. I'm here in Crestone, Colorado, way up in the mountains, and it is also beautiful here today. No wind, finally, for a little while, which is great. And I'm so glad to be here. Self-love, self-care is our subject today, and it's a lead-in to a special event that's 2 hours long next week on Wednesday. So at the end of this episode, we'll talk more about how you join us for a very interactive session on Wednesday about self-love and self-care, and have lots of musicians and speakers. And it's a lead-in to our 30-day program, which launches in June, which is extremely supportive of your self-care, self-love journey and development of a sisterhood of loving women around you, which we've heard such a big need for, and that we love to provide and do and be for each other. So that's what today is all about, what we're talking about today.
That's what we're talking about. So I'm curious, audience, what does self-love mean to you? I'm going to tell you what it means to me, and then we'll just start taking it off from there. Not literally, just saying. Come on. Just we're gonna raise. I don't know what we're gonna do to raise the
What kind of show is this today, you guys?
Not that kind of self-love.
It's that kind that sparks the G vibe, which is your gratitude vibration. We are gonna lift it right on up, you guys. It is all about raising the frequency. Self-love is that right there. It's being your authentic self, saying what comes from your heart, and showing up with vulnerable, real, raw, unapologetic authenticity, and feeling into that power that you know you are. and you're not giving it away anymore. And you're not giving excuses why you're not giving it away anymore. And I love that. Respect yourself and others. Self-love is knowing. Thank you, Jen. Is knowing that you have your own standpoint while acknowledging others. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Thank you, audience. Keep rocking and rolling. Let's carry on. Who wants to take it over? What does self-love mean to you?
Well, one of the reasons this is one of our first subjects as a big offering is just because we've heard so many people talking about, with the separation that was caused from COVID, that they just feel like they're needing love. And I mean, we do need love from each other, but we also have to learn how to give that to ourselves, and what that means to ourselves, whether it's taking the time for relaxation enough, going to the hot springs, taking a hot bath, getting a massage, getting your nails done, whatever makes you feel like you're taking care of yourself properly, and not just taking care of other people only all the time, or not giving yourself enough time to do self-care because you aren't feeling worthy or aren't feeling like you care enough. So putting that effort into that is a lot of what this is about, and providing a sisterhood of women that can help give you love, and that you can provide love to as well, and being part of a sisterhood. And we can only love others as much as we love ourselves. So learning what that even means, I've had to do a ton of learning in this realm.
Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah, having 5 kids at a really young age, and everything was always about them, and how can I be the best mom? How can I work and provide for them and everything? And me leaving the house without even my shoes on after I'd gotten them already was kind of a regular thing. So pretty bad. So learning lots in that realm, especially as I get older and like allow myself to have the self-care that I should have been doing the whole time. And I literally put it on my schedule now of like, nobody's breaking my self-care time. This is my hot springs time. This is my, time to spend actually relaxing and watching movies, and not working, and not doing kid things, or, whatever I want to schedule in for the week, but just making sure that I actually do that now. And it's still, I'll notice myself, erase the things off the calendar. Oh, I'm too busy. And I'm like, no, you're not allowed to do that anymore. You're doing this self-care thing and sticking to it. And I'm so much healthier, and so much more like overflowing with more joy when I do give myself that time to like actually relax and not have my brain going, and just having, body sensation. Hot springs is my favorite way to just let go and be out in nature here in beautiful Colorado. But yeah, it's not been easy. This is not something my parents taught me.
No, isn't that interesting how that happens? I want to recognize Brandy, because Brandy, you've just shown up authentically. How do you learn self-love? Well, I'm going to give you the acknowledgement that you've just done it. How do you learn self-love? Love by reaching out to those and saying, hey, how exactly do you do this? And that's why we love doing this, for this reason. We've been in that space. I remember those days when I questioned, self-love, what in the, what, why? I don't understand this. And there was just a whole beautiful web of appreciation that comes into when we start really loving ourselves deeply. But there's just this path along the way, and these other ladies have some stuff to share. So I'm going to be quiet, and I just wanted to recognize you, Brandy, and thank you, Jen, for being supportive and for holding space. You guys are really a great audience today. So, ladies, who wants to jump in next?
I'll be happy to jump in here. So, in response to the question that was just asked, this was something coming to me as Miranda was speaking, was, how do we actually begin to even connect with what nourishes us, what brings us into that space of deeply loving ourselves and learning how to be present? And the most fundamental thing that comes to me is, first of all, in training ourselves into slowing down enough to get present with ourselves, to actually allow for those finer, subtle senses to become more pronounced. and to really approach it as an exploration, right? Sometimes we don't know, we haven't been taught how to love ourselves. And in fact, many of us received models of the opposite, right? Or also pulling on the thread of what Miranda was sharing, as mothers especially, right? We can often fall into this role of overgiving, self-sacrifice. And that has definitely been something I've had to learn for myself. That shadow of the mother is learning to take responsibility for filling my cup first. Knowing that as I take the time out from all of my responsibilities, all of the different roles that I play, the hats that I wear in life, that making that time and prioritizing that time to just slow down, to be present with myself, and to listen in this moment, what would be most nourishing for me? What would allow me to feel like I'm filling my cup and drinking that in deeply, so that I can come back to all of the other engagements and activity from a place that's more resourced, that's nourished, that's full. So I'm giving from my overflow rather than showing up from a place of depletion, which automatically compromises how we're able to show up. So I'd say to that answer, really just learning to slow down, creating space, getting underneath the speed that kills those finer senses and that disconnects us from that place where we feel really resourced.
That is beautiful. And I actually typed that in the chat for everybody. I'm also going to post a link in the chat for you to sign up to join us at our Self-Love Fest, which is Wednesday night. Okay, so I'll put a link in there and then you can sign up, and we're going to have a lot more tools available at that time too. It looks like Rachel's coming in to unmute.
I wasn't, but
she
I'm
wasn't.
hoping to contribute. So there was how do we learn, develop, grow this self-love space? And I think Amber touched on a piece of it that's really important. I think another audience member did as well. But it's understanding that this is a practice. This is a choice. And for me, I'm very aware of what's going on in the world. And anything that comes through my capacities, I really do want it to feel and know the truth that I am a sanctuary. I am a temple. And that which is coming through that space and that which can receive the world can find peace here. And so to bring my capacities forward in a way that gets every nook and cranny. Oh man, there's so many nooks and crannies in this body and in this being that need a little extra love, a little extra fluff, a little extra zhuzh to make sure that when company comes in whatever way, I am ready for them, and I am ready for it, and I am ready for life. And this channel that I think we all have access to must be held in a pristine way so that it can channel the energy, the love, the life current that wants to flow through, so that we can reveal our destiny on this planet together and be an embodiment of what it means to be constantly emerging and burgeoning into the liberated understanding of enoughness and welcome. So like that's what it feels like. And then like to really, really, really understand that it is a choice, it is a practice, and it is a journey that we get to. Oh, Amber, she said it so good the other day in our slumber party. She said it's like having a striptease with the parts of ourselves that no longer serve. They're not yucky. They're just like, oh, look it, here's this one that gets to come off, and just like whoosh, right? And like being the flow and the majesty of that. And so that's what I'm about. Like, let's make it fun. Let's make it easy. It's not hard to love ourselves. It's great. And it's good and it's juicy. And there are moments where you just like find like those deep truth seeds. And then you go through the process of whatever that is, you bring love to it, you release it, it finally does come off, and then you can speak to it from such a joyful place and not like a hurt, oh my God, this happened space.
Oh my God. You guys
So
are oozing. And so for the person that asked, how do I begin to love myself? And I think Debbie hit it on the head. These women who just spoke are just oozing this frequency of self-love. And there might be times when we can't access it. So when we can't access it, we can call on the energy of others to provide it. So I'll give an example for myself. This last week, I got the vid and I wasn't feeling that good and I couldn't access that. But in asking for help and knowing that I wasn't going to stay there, and knowing that the tide comes back in, and knowing that and feeling this cooped up, like, oh, I can't go do that. Oh, I still went on my walk, but certain things that I would do for myself, or I wasn't feeling as well enough to do the certain practices, and being 100% okay with that and that acceptance of that. And knowing that my people were on the other side, praying for me, bringing things by, being in the receiving of those orchids. 2 orchids showed up. And as a person who is generally holding the space and frequency for others, I knew that my lesson in medicine was to receive. So going back to what does self-care mean to me? It's about being in that permission to be wherever I am at in the moment. And, when I can't access it, knowing that it's always like right there back, even if I can't touch it or taste it or feel it in that moment, that it will come back and you can't do it wrong. So they say that comparison is a thief of joy. So for anyone out there who's listening to this and being like, I don't know how to have a slumber party or a strip tease to, and all that sounds so good. I want to be in a slumber party and I want to go in a hot spring with you,
seriously,
Miranda.
right? Can we just do that? I mean, really.
So well, maybe that'll be a session, the shadow strip tease. And in the 30-day program, I like that. But yeah, I think that knowing that we can't do it wrong. And even if you don't have a ton of time, Miranda touched on that, like having 5 kids. And, my self-care practice before I had kids, it was hours. I mean, I had rituals. It was journal prompts for hours. And then when my kids came, I was like, okay, if I could fit 5 minutes in and not make that wrong. So that's what I feel guided to say.
Thank you. That was beautiful. And I love how that you were just really talking about being okay with where you're at, period. And it's such an important thing when it comes to self-care and self-love, being okay where you're at. You could be wherever it is, but as long as you're okay with it. So yesterday I was looking at some Facebook messages from a couple years ago. And I was sitting there watching myself talk on a live stream that I had done. And I sat there with so much self-appreciation for this reason. I accepted life where it was back then. I was literally talking about, sure, maybe externally it looks really tough right now. But what I really asked myself is my old story still serving me? The story of the victim, the story of the person who's not the powerful woman, the story of the abused woman, the story of the woman that has been through all this stuff. Does that story still serve me? No, it wasn't serving me. This was a couple years ago. And I made a decision to change my story. To change my story to something that served me more, something that lifted my spirit. I stopped talking about what had happened to me and I started reflecting on the appreciation of what was done for me. It's a shift of perspective. It is also getting out of your own way and realizing that you are creating every ounce of it, period. And it is true ownership of all of the BS that you have been pointing fingers at for your whole life, including the excuses for not making enough time for yourself. All of it's just in that old story, wrapped up in that old thing. So now I'm going to ask you, how's it working for you? Those out there that are sitting in that space, if you're sitting in that space, and it's okay that you're sitting in that space. If it's working for you, stay in that space. If it's not, come learn some tools to change it, because I did. I learned some tools to change it. And I really invite you, everybody, to come and get into a container with us of love and deep understanding and compassion and empathy, because one of us have walked in your shoes. And that's the important part. So what I'm hoping that you see is the light that you are within us. So take it away.
I just want to honor Kimberly in our chat, everyone who's in our chat and being interactive. Thank you. Kimberly's sharing some kind of raw and vulnerable information and says she'll have to miss the 30-day retreat, but it will be recorded and you can get it right afterwards. And if there is any way that we can get it to you while you'll be in rehab, that might help as well, because a lot of it is about I mean, some of us here on the show have been through a lot of the same kind of stuff. As Debbie was saying, it wasn't always this beautiful and pretty. Definitely not. I came from abusive relationships, drug and alcohol use, single mom for a very long time because of the relationships I had picked and the fathers choosing to not be in their kids' lives now, and a pretty rough road. And the reason we're doing this now is to be a support to each other and to be a support to help women get from that place of not feeling so much hope and not feeling, one of the things you said, Kimberly, is that you feel this guilt about being of service or being of service to anyone that isn't someone else, and being of service to you. And it comes from a deep-seated, in our last season, Andrea was on here with us a lot, and she wrote a book called, I think it was I Am Worthy or something like
Born
that.
Enough.
Born Enough, yeah. And it just really, I mean, it like everything she said was the things that play through my head and have since I was a kid, since I was a teenager and in my 20s, which is what led me to relationships that weren't great and led me to drug and alcohol use back then. And a deep-seated sense of unworthiness of being able to give yourself self-love or be of service to yourself in a healthy way. And obviously then you can't be that for other people, but it's not true. We're all worthy. Whatever made that get inside of us that said, I'm not worthy, needs to get out. Like, I love the stripping thing. Like, let that go and get a new story. And we're here to help, like, place a new story, however that starts for you, and that you are worthy and that you are loved and you are worthy of love. And you need to start giving it to yourself and give yourself health, give yourself fresh squeezed juices, give yourself yoga, give yourself learning meditation, give yourself ecstatic dance, give yourself friends that are amazing, a sisterhood. Join us. Don't be alone. Don't be in the story of unworthiness or not worthy of being valued or loved. We've been there and we're not going there anymore. And now if my mind tries to say any more of that BS, it has a new story that I tell myself. And taking the time for self-love and reading the books that I love and all of that is a much better place to be now. And now have drawn healthy relationships to my life, and kids are so much more happy. And so, yeah, we're here to help however we can help any of you. And please just keep writing to us, being vulnerable. Big hugs to you, Kimberly, too. I just saw that you wrote that too. Seriously, big hugs, virtual hugs.
Huge,
big,
for you
big. And for anybody out there that's struggling and needs sisterhood and needs us, and be with us as much as you can. I mean, the event in June, and sorry, I'm kind of rambling a lot. I have to jump off of here in 5 minutes to run another broadcast, unfortunately. But our 30-day one will be an online one where you join with us and you get tips and tools throughout the whole month. But in the fall, we will have an actual live in-person event as well that we want anyone to join us at, and ongoing ones from there. So we continue to build this sisterhood and this women rising group of beautiful, amazing women.
Thank you, sweetheart. That was absolutely glorious. There's a couple of people that in the chat that are talking about, struggling with addiction, and I fully get it. I totally get it. I put a couple of resources in there. They're conscious recovery and a treatment center if you are needing that much help. I do recommend it. There's also people that we know that are right here on the panel that work with people that have ongoing addictions and things. So you can reach out to us after the show, and we're not looking to we're not saying that we're going to do anything other than give you some suggestions and support. So, but if you need that, please reach out. Self-love. Self-love is, for me, that was the moment that I got real. When it comes to addiction, the moment that I got real and realized that that was a really strategic move for me to make, wasn't it? I had to break up with my cigarettes. Let's use that. I've also had an issue with pills, alcohol, whatever, different times in my life. When it stops working, it stops working. And there is no excuse. When you're ready to quit, you quit. There's no excuse. I got to tell you, I know this because I've done that. So what it comes down to is when you want it to change, you're going to do it because you're going to own your stuff. And if you're doing it any differently, then you're lying to yourself. And if you're lying to yourself, don't you owe yourself more than that? I know I owed myself more than that, so I gave myself more than that. All I can do is be an example for you guys and tell you there's another way to do this. We haven't even gotten into the prospect of what healing looks like. And I mean, Amber and Rachel are on a whole other level right now with that. And Brooke has these tools that you use and these questions she's going to ask you. And Miranda, let me tell you guys something. Miranda, I don't even know how she does what she does. But it is the sisterhood of support that we all have, that we all share, and that's what we're inviting you into. So just come on in. Come on in. But leave the excuses at the door, though, okay? Because otherwise it's not going to do you any good, and it's no point. Just saying. Hi, Leland. Thank you. Who wants to take it away? And happy 3rd anniversary. Whoever has just had a 3rd anniversary for being clean, that's wonderful. Woo.
I like it when I get called on. It's kind of fun. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, I'm totally paying attention. Like, but what I want to speak to the chemistry of this conversation. And it's something that I learned all too well in my process. And I guess the cycle that happens, I'll speak to it for a moment. We're always listening to something. And the big switch is to not let ourselves be chemically dependent on the story of depletion that happens in our own psyche. Like, it happens in all of the, like, I would say, like, the downward spiral emotions. There's a chemical reaction that happens inside of our mind where we will lose ourselves in that experience because our body soaks up the chemicals that get produced during that time. So if we're aware that this is a thing that happens, then we can start to make it malleable for ourselves in our own experience. And instead of getting lost in the surge of depletion chemicals, we can find euphoria in the chemicals that bring inspiration to us. Highly excitable and have like real dopamine responses of things, right? And like talking about like the full spectrum of the chemicals that get released in our body that can be self-induced through other ways of living and other ways of being. And when we find that balance and we find that choice point in all the other ways that we get to live, then the other pieces of what we think we're orienting to can fall away gracefully. And still be aware of the practice, right? Like Dolly Parton says, it takes a lot of money to look this cheap. I'll say it takes a lot of ugly to feel this good. The going through those pieces, right? Like, as Deb says, without your dark, you wouldn't know your spark. And so there's something to that. And I'm so excited that we get to go on this journey on a deeper level for like 30 days together. Great. It's a lifetime practice, but how awesome is it when we get to have some focused time just to practice the art of remembering?
I love you. Practice the art of remember. We're here to remind each other who we are. We are all each our own guru. I have a tool I'm going to share with you all really quick, and this is the easiest one I've ever had in my life, and it's so simple. We can all do it. It'll just take a second, and then I'm going to hand it over to Brooke and Amber. It takes a lot of ugly. I love this. This is Rachel. Love, and takes a lot of ugly to get this good. Oh, I love it. Okay.
It's true. Well, and also like just don't be afraid to let the emotion out.
Yeah.
I think that's a really big one. There's a primal part of our body that I think in today's world we're told like should not happen, right? We must not. And to allow sacred space, not your partner or your kid or any of that, but allow sacred space to really let the channel open and release all of that stuff that's in there. However many days it needs to happen, whatever it looks like, just
let
do
it flow.
Yeah, because then you're like, you're literally brand new. You're literally brand new.
It feels so good. We hold on. We've been holding on so tight that by the time we get ready to let go, it's this conceived idea. It's perception. So listen, talking about perception. Listen, y'all, audience, panel. I want you to think of somebody, just somebody in your life. It could be somebody on the panel right here that you're watching. I want you to think of a word that describes that person. Is it spunky? Is it vibrant? Is it sexy? What is it? What is that word? Think of the person. Get the word. It could be sparkly. It could be happy, joy, gratitude, any of those words. You can even type the word in the chat, just the word. Do you guys all have your word, the person and a word? I like that, Kimberly. Enthusiasm. Now here's the deal. You can't know something you're not because there's no point of reference. Period. So sit with it. You've forgotten who you are and the greatness that resides inside of you. But you just saw it in somebody else, but you would not know. Generous. You know what, Sandra D, what you're telling me about you is that you're a generous soul. What you're telling me about yourself, Kimberly, is that you are so enthusiastic. What words did you come up with, Brooke and Amber and Rachel? Feisty. Brandy, you're feisty. I love that. Even though I know you were feeling it about somebody else, it is you. Remembering who you are.
My word is joie de vivre, which is this, this joy of life.
And the joy of life.
Yeah. And when you were saying that, it reminded me of, I have this friend of a friend. She's this woman in Turkey, and she's famous in Turkey. And the reason why we became friends is that they thought we looked a lot alike. And I think we are related in some way. But she would walk around New York with this energy. But no one knew who she was in New York. But when I went away with her in Turkey, I mean, the paparazzi were following her around everywhere. And so to me, what I observed in her was this, I'm a secret celebrity and nobody knows about it, right? So I was like, I used to just say that in some of my workshops, like just for the week, just walk around like you're this secret celebrity, the good kind, not a judgment of good or bad, but the one that's, that has that emanating that confidence, that joie de vivre, that je ne sais quoi, that feeling of flow, and just to change the story that you were talking about. So that's what got inspired with the word. So thank you for that. I remembered that, that secret celebrity.
Well, I love that you are a secret. We're all secret celebrities. In fact, I'm looking at this audience full of secret celebrities right here because Coney is just loving, and Kimberly's gorgeous, and Kathy's really lively, and Sandra D. Oh my gosh, you are right. You are that you seek, baby.
Feisty. This is fun.
That was great, Brooke. I really loved that invitation that you offered there. And the word that came to me was inspiration, inspiring. Actually, I was thinking about Rachel specifically because we've been spending the whole week together, and just we have such a beautiful flow of mutual admiration, respect, love for each other. So we're just like splishing and splashing in this ocean of deliciousness here. And it's inspiring when we reflect each other so purely in our essence, right? And we are truly an upward spiral together. So thank you for that, Rachel. I love you.
So beautiful. I have a question for you. Unless you had something else you wanted to say.
Okay.
I felt like something else is. Rachel had mentioned is like, let that emotion out, right? And I know for myself, I used to be the queen of, pulling for whatever I can to feel better as fast as possible. I think that's what the personal development industry has done with the 7 steps and the 5 rules to this and the 7 steps to nowhere. And for me, that was my go-to because I really wanted to just be in that like Shanti, like Perma Nirvana space, because I think ultimately I was really scared to go with the dark that you talk about, Debbie. And like, I think in the last 5 years, I've gotten to that place of wanting, embracing that darkness and that emotion. But for anyone out there that's listening who does feel a little afraid, because I know for myself back in, when I was like that, I think I was scared I wouldn't come out of it. And so, so what would you say to the audience who are like, okay, well, if I let that dam run, I'm scared what might happen. And so what would you say to that person?
That's a great question. And I'm really glad that you asked it. Thank you for that invitation. Well, first of all, I like to offer for people who are in this particular situation that you just articulated, if they're just beginning to open to actually access those feelings in the body, right? And are afraid that, well, if I go into it, maybe I'll get stuck there. Maybe I won't come out on the other side. And well, first of all, I can offer the confidence of my own personal experience that when you actually give yourself permission to go in and feel fully whatever's there, it's actually the most efficient, effective way to move the energy, because what I find happens for most people is they might just feel it a little bit, but not fully, because what happens when we have these experiences in life that are challenging, right, that are traumatic on any level, stressful, that they get, if we don't allow ourselves in the moment to fully feel what's available in that moment, what happens is we save it for later. It gets bound up in the body, in the soma, as an imprint of energy, bound energy that never was fully metabolized through simply being present with it, letting it move through our body or express in whatever way it needed to in the moment. So we save it for another moment when we're more resourced. And so what happens is we create a layer around that unprocessed pain. We'll just call it pain, right? We create a layer around it that I experience as the dramatization, like the story of the pain. And so most people are just pinging off the surface of the story, which creates an prolonged suffering. But what happens when we penetrate through the story and allow ourselves a space to simply experience the pure, raw, primal energy that's bound there beyond the story, take the story off of it and just allow it to move through our body, it really usually only takes a few minutes for each layer to move. So if we go fully into it, it's actually quite quick. And what I like to offer is to create a time-bound container. So say you're going to create whatever space you have. Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 10 minutes, maybe it's an hour, depending on the intensity of whatever it is that needs to be met with our full presence. Create that timer, even set a timer. And some different tools that can help to move it in the most efficient way are things that move the body. So sound and movement in the body, I find to be the most effective and efficient ways of moving that energy. So maybe you put on a song that matches the energy that you need to access, and you can dance and move and growl, create a space for yourself where you know it's private, where you're not going to be concerned about affecting other people, so you feel safe to let go into it, and just let it have its way with you. Again, give it expression. And it may be deep grief, it may be anger, it may be emotions that people tend to shy away from and that culturally we're taught to shy away from, to either take some kind of substance that numbs us so that we're not feeling the full intensity of it. But what you want to do is the opposite. Like you're diving straight into the epicenter of it while letting it move through your body. And again, I can assure you, and this has been shown scientifically with trauma-based work, that those bound imprints, if we do fully go into it and let ourselves feel it and keep breathing and stay present with it, moving in rather than away from it, it's literally only 3 minutes for each layer to fully process. And there may be multiple layers, but it's okay. And you might have time for 1 layer. You might have time for 6 layers, but just to give yourself the gift of being present, let that energy animate you so that it can be metabolized. And then what happens is once that energy is felt, the story collapses. And so it's no longer something that's active in our system, because until we meet it, we're going to continue to generate experiences in our life, reflections that are going to keep stimulating that imprint to help us locate it. That's what each one of these feedbacks of life is really there as a gift, a messenger to help us locate that energy. So if you receive the message, take it in fully as a gift that it is, meet it completely, let it move through, then you're setting yourself free. And that no longer needs to keep resonating in your life and attracting experiences that keep pulling you into that same energy over and over again.
Wow.
Big wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What that resonates all through my cells first, but then secondly, it can you guys just sit with that? What could it possibly feel like to actually have that much freedom? To not be bound by the story that makes you sad, that makes you feel like you're not good enough, because you really, really are. I want to share really quickly about this coming Wednesday night. And this is for everybody on here. I've just put the link into the chat, and I'm going to kind of shift directions just a little bit, and we'll get right back to giving you guys some more tools. We have these kind of covering us up here. Sorry about that. We have these amazing artists. We have the stand-up comedian Christine O'Leary, Brothers Corinne, Jamie Liu, lunar astrologer Claudia Thompson, and the beautiful music of Bhakti Das. It's going to be incredible. Along with all of us, Brooke, Tammy, Miranda, Amber, Rachel. We'll have a meditation from Pam Osley. It's going to be extremely cool. And of course, it's free to come. It's going to be live right here on Unify and all over the place. But please do sign up, because there's a special Zoom link that you can hang out with us after the live, and we can get into some breakout rooms and really put the tools into action, which is super awesome. I am so excited to have you guys come and be part of this. And you are so welcome, Sandra D. Fantastic observations and suggestions, Amber. Seriously. And Leland, thank you. I love all of your comments so much. You are more than welcome, audience. You are all incredible beings and you deserve everything your heart has ever desired. You deserve to be that love that you seek. I promise you. If you're single, because I was for a really long time, and you think that you're looking for it outside of you, it's just never going to happen. It's not. What it is going to do is lead you to yourself, though, because all roads lead to you. All roads. Now, who's going to take it over? I know Rachel's like, I can see it. She's just.
Oh, you guys. Well, I will say that, first of all, everything's been shared in this episode, I think, is gold for the soul. My goodness. And I'll also say that if it hurts, if you're shaking, if you're crying, if you're throwing up, if you're doing this, you're not done yet. Keep baking. If you feel hopeless, if you feel lost, if you feel like you're dying, keep baking. And let whatever part of you that needs to dissolve completely. and just try like I can do this. I can do this for another 3 minutes. I can do this for another 1 minute. I can do this for another breath. Just keep on. You are, I was talking to a friend the other day. You are a cantaloupe, not a can't-taloupe. Just be with it. And know that you can. Know that you will.
That was great. You know, there is so much joy on the other side of that pain. And, you know, we've been running from pain from long enough, and I'm still growing and learning. I still have a lot more to do, and I look forward to it because the universe happens for me. I want to talk about something that Amber said, a word that I'd like to unpack for our last 15 minutes here. And the word is resourced. What does that mean to make sure that you're resourced? And I'll take it away and let you guys start answering. What does that mean for you to be resourced?
I think for me, it means just having access to my inner knowing and taking that minute to allow that guidance to come in. And also, when the guidance doesn't come in, to also know that that's my guidance. And to just, I think there are times to be resourced. It's coming from myself, but then also knowing when I need that person or persons to reflect the mirror back to me, what I already know. You had mentioned earlier the word remembering. And I think that is the remembering of what I already know or don't know that I remember is to get that resource, but filling that tank however I need to fill it. And last week I was on an interview and the host had said, I just ask myself all day long. And it really dovetails so beautifully with what Amber said with the question, what is the most nourishing thing I could do for myself? And it's a slight tweak, and you could fill whatever word. And that's the beautiful thing. It's like, this is all customized for you and by you, like what you said, Debbie. So it's like, what's the most loving thing I could do for myself right now? Or what is a simple thing I could do to feel a tiny bit better? And then acknowledging that tiny shift as a win versus it has to go from, depression to joy. So how can I move up that scale of well-being, as Abraham Hicks likes to talk about, that vibrational scale of well-being? So what can I do to feel a tiny bit better is a question that I like to do just to get to that place. And like I said before, if you can't access that resource, what is a frequency, whether it's an angel or whether it's, someone out there in the world that has that energy. I mean, like you beautiful women, just go back and listen to this replay. I mean, the women on this that I'm sitting here, I feel like I could fly after hanging out with you guys. I'm like, who needs anything? I just need to hang out with you. And I'm like, woohoo! I just feel like I took something. So,
tweet.
Yeah.
So I loved that you said that check-in with yourself. So we check in with ourselves. For me, resourced is if I am hungry, if I haven't taken time to even nourish my body, if I haven't had enough rest, if I have been working all day and I'm just strapped, like I'm at my end, am I resourced? Do I have enough inside of me? Have I filled the cup? Am I giving away from what's inside, or am I allowing what's overflowing to nourish people? When I resource, do I need to go and put my feet in the grass? Do I need to stop a conversation and say, let's revisit this later when I am more resourced? Resourced is really about think about what resources are. There's something to help you, correct? So we've used this in the term of do a check-in. And that's exactly what Brooke, that's what you were saying. But I know Amber has a great, I already know you have a really good explanation for this.
Thank you, Debbie, and Brooke as well. I think fundamentally for me, I think of being resourced as making sure that I am connected to source, that I'm in my direct experience of connection to source, so that, you know, all the things that we can do if we're not connected to source and aware of that connection and consciously receiving and streaming it, then the doing is empty, right? That is what brings this substance behind all the doing. When we're paying attention to who we're being while we're doing all the things that we're doing, then we're really deeply receiving, right? It takes it into the truest, deepest place. And I fundamentally recognizing that, you know, this comes back to the worthiness piece as well, that when we recognize that, you know, we were born into these bodies whole and intact as the essence that we each uniquely are, that's enough. The fact that we are here is proof enough that we are worthy, because the universe doesn't make mistakes and it doesn't waste, right? So here we are. And then we go through a process of living these lives of accumulating all these layers, thus the need for the cosmic striptease, as Rachel was referring to earlier from our former conversation this week, that we go through the enculturation from, you know, perhaps our ancestral lineage, our familial patterns, the educational system, the cultural conditioning. There's a myriad of forms in which that indoctrination comes in, that we then create these veneers around our wholeness, right? These surface layers that then we begin to believe we are, these surface layers, these surface identities. So we must go through a process of peeling those identities back, those surface layers, so that we can reconnect with the source that allows us to even be here right now, alive, breathing, having these amazing conversations, being able to even consider these things, right? So to connect with what's most fundamental and really allow that to infuse everything that we choose to interact with.
That was so good. Because guess what just hit my brain? You're talking and I'm like, resource. Oh, resource. Duh. It was like, I love myself that I just had that moment. You got it. You get it? So that's it. How are you how are you resourcing? Just source. God, that was just so perfect. Yeah, that's it. Rachel.
What she said.
Mic drop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, like making yourself available for that experience, believing that it's not only available for other people, letting yourself feel what it feels like to be supremely favored by life and encouraged by it. Mm-hmm. And let yourself live into that with your steps, with your thoughts, with your audaciousness, with your ability to be compassionately present and wildly creative. And continue the allowing, continue the unfolding, continue the epicness of the art that you came here to create. And every move, every sound, every gift that you receive and that you give is an endless cycle of that loop. And knowing that we can only give that as the most supreme thanks to that which has already created everything, and know that our uniqueness in how we choose to be and create is the only thing that which has created everything doesn't have yet. So what a great gift to give in our full expression of that. And then you can't give that unless you're fully open to receive all of it, 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 all of it. And just let it burst through the cells. Let it burst through the limitations. Let it burst through any storyline so that we can become what we've always been.
That's beautiful, Rachel.
I'd love to add something to that. That was
Please.
a beautiful
Oh,
stream.
yeah.
I'm really feeling being full of ourselves in the most positive sense, right? Is really what I'm getting from this, is that, there's such a negative connotation of being full of yourself, right? And from an egoic perspective, that would be true. But if we actually bring it to the conversation that we're having right now, which is being full of your essential being, who and what you are in truth have always been eternally beyond this body, beyond all of the beautiful personality structures that we create to live and express through in this life, right? That when we tap that, we receive that deeply, fully, completely. We are full of who we truly are. And then the emanation that comes from that is a pure signal. It's congruent, right? And so then our ego, right, which is the human personality structures, gets infused with our essential being. And then our ego just gets to be the congruent expression of who we are in the world, because we need the ego. We wouldn't be here in a body without it, right? And I think the ego gets a bad rap. And it's only when the ego is in the driver's seat that, it wreaks havoc. But when we train the ego to feel safe and rest back into being the passenger, so that spirit, the essence of who we are, is in the driver's seat. It is what's organizing our reality, which we are being able to navigate with much more grace from this place. So just wanted to add to that. Thank you for that, Rachel. And then from that place also, like we become inherently magnetic, right? When we've learned how to receive ourselves so fully, the focus is actually on that inward motion, that inward draw of receiving, which centers us, in the center of the stillness of the spin of our electromagnetic field. And then what happens is that we become, as a side effect, more radiant. That radiance is actually an effect of magnetism. So if we focus on drawing in and anchoring into who we are, and we fill up, we just naturally begin to ooze and exude that radiance into the world, which draws more and more of it to us. Beautiful feedback.
Amazing.
So good. When you said the ego in the driver's seat, it reminded me of, we're the landlord and the ego is the subletter. So just take the keys back, and that radiance and that receiving, and, just so good. Yeah, I feel like, I can't imagine that anyone being on this conversation, at least from where I'm sitting, I feel like I just quantum leap to a whole other frequency. And I thought my frequency was pretty high when I started, so I don't even know what's going to happen when I get off. So
Yep. How high can we go?
Oh,
How
but
high can we go?
yeah, and the other insight that I got from this, and I want to thank you very much, is that I really saw where, and I invite everyone else, is to look at where we have that save for later files. I think I need to go into Dropbox and just sort of, delete a few of those save for later files. Like, that was such a beautiful image for me. So, because I think in doing that, what I hear is then from going into those 3 minutes or that 1 minute of being uncomfortable, then it gives more room to be in that radiance and receiving and that freedom. So yeah, I'm going to be doing mass deletes.
And sometimes it's a year.
What'd you say?
Right? It's not just like it's not always like 3 minutes, 1 minute, one breath, right? Sometimes it's a thing.
Yeah.
Right? How many people middle age do we know that still have that one thing that they haven't let go of, that every time they charge, they haven't gone through the thing all the way and repeat.
I was doing that all the time.
All good.
In this last 3 or 4 years of work I've been doing, I've been finally starting to let go, but I'm going to promise you at almost 55, I still have more work to do. So I just want to sit in this deep appreciation for the power that you young ladies bring through. seriously, because I need that. I'm over here I'm just hogging it all up. Thank you. It's just so yummy. I mean, this is the most beautiful energy. We have came up to the top of the hour, you guys. I want to mention really quickly and bring this up so that you all know what's happening right now is that we have Master Shadao Quantum Healing Hour. I hope I said that right. The Tao Quantum Healing Hour. It's a 1 hour of high frequency spiritual healing and is right here on Unify. Yes, this is available for replay directly after it's over. So as soon as it's over, it'll be for replay. So if you've missed any of this show, please go back and watch. I am so grateful that all of you are here, that you have joined us today. And I am going to just share really quickly about our Self-Love Fest. Straight from the Women of Unify, everybody. Have a really great week. We're going to see you this coming Wednesday. In the chat, you'll find the link to sign up, but you can also just go right to Unify and find our event page. Sign up right there. Get yourself on the list. Join us afterwards on our special Zoom. It's going to be spectacular. I want to thank all of you ladies for another high-vibing, incredible hour of tools and yeah, you just raise the frequency of the planet, I swear, just in one swoop. All right, bye everybody.
Have a beautiful day.
Let us rise.